you very much, President Costa, for being with us today on the 68th anniversary of the Rome Treaty, one of the founding pillars of our union. We're very honored to have you here, and you reminded us of where we began and how the EU developed over a very long time with different crises. And in relation to the present crisis, you talked about Versailles and the need for Europe to become more autonomous. But of course, in Versailles, the issue there was a resurgent, disruptive Russia that was willing to use violence and force to change borders. But we now have an added layer of complication, and that is that for the first time in the history of the EU, we have a partner, the United States, that has become much more challenging, much more problematic in terms of its relationship both with Europe but also the EU. And how does the EU navigate itself through that hardening of geopolitics with the danger of Washington, Moscow, but how Europe inserts itself at the table, etc., etc. So how does the EU manage the hardening of geopolitics and the change in what was traditionally one of Europe's protectors?
Well, of course, transatlantic alliance is utmost important. But it's clear from 15 years that the United States' main priority is not anymore the Atlantic, is not anymore Europe, but is the Pacific. And that's why in Wales in 2014, we decided that we need to increase our defense spending. The target was 2024, last year, and effectively last year, on average, the 23 member states of the European Union who are allies in NATO, on average, they reach already the 2% target. And it's clear that we need to do more. Of course, Russia's invasion was an accelerator. And that's why the war starts the 24th of February 2022, and in March 2022, less than 1 month after, we met in Versailles, and we took the decision to assume greater responsibility on our own defense. And since 2021, our defense spending raised by 30%, 3-0, over the last 3 years. That effectively we are delivering. But this is not more important that spending more is to spending better. And that's why the reason is not to find a magic figure, 2%, 3%, 3.5%, 3.8%. No. The most important is to find what we need to invest. And that's why these last 3 months, first in our brainstorming day on defense, with the participation of the Secretary General of NATO and the UK Prime Minister, we decided to prioritize our investment on capabilities, and the same capabilities defined by the European Defence Agency in full coherence with NATO priorities. Now NATO is evaluating what is the budgetary path to fulfill the gap on these capabilities. And I believe that we will arrive in the next summit, NATO summit in June, and we will approve a common commitment to reach this goal. What is interesting is that some years ago, look, in Versailles, when some of us, especially France, talks about strategic autonomy, the necessity to increase our sovereignty, a lot of people believe that it's something against the United States. It's a way to create a division between Europe and the United States. But now it's clear that the best way to protect our transatlantic alliance is to strengthen the European pillar of NATO, is to become more autonomous, to become more sovereign, to be less dependent of others, namely on the United States. I don't know if you can say that les bons esprits se rencontrent, because I'm not sure if you have les bons esprits in everywhere, but in fact, it's a real convergence. And now what it was divisive among us Europeans now is our common ground and the common understand that this is the best way to strengthen our relation with our transatlantic partners, with Canada, and also, of course, with the United States.
Thank you. The President has very kindly agreed to take some questions from the audience, so please, who would like to? Yes, thank you. And please, if you would say who you are as a courtesy to our guest.
Hello, I'm one of the former NATO spokesperson, now the EPC and the Royal United Services in London. Mr. President, you're absolutely right, of course, that crises call for courage and creativity. So I have a question on Ukraine in two parts. One, do you agree with President von der Leyen that Ukraine could and should become a member of the EU by 2030? Thank you. And if so, would it not help the reconstruction of Ukraine and the leverage of the EU towards both Russia and the United States to actually seize the frozen Russian assets?
No, I agree that the best security guarantee for Ukraine is European accession. And we are in the good path, and the assessment from the European Commission is very positive about what Ukrainians are doing to prepare for the accession. And it's very impressive to see how a country in war, in this terrible situation, has the ability to deliver on reforms and on convergence targets to access to the European Union. I don't know if it is in 2030, 2028, 2032. I don't know. As you know, it's a merit-based process, and they are delivering. Then perhaps could be earlier, can be only in 2030. I don't know. The main issue is not the date, is the process and the common will to achieve this. And at the same time, we need to prepare from now to the future of reconstruction of Ukraine. And in the last council, we tasked the European Commission to look at this and to build a large coalition of willing, of a major, because it needs a major effort of the international community to rebuild Ukraine. As we are doing now with Gaza. That's the reason, because we are supporting the Arab League project to reconstruction Gaza, because also essential for global stabilization, global security, to ensure the dual state solution, to ensure the reconstruction of Gaza. And for the future of global security and the European security, is essential to reconstruct, to ensure the reconstruction of Ukraine. Of course, in any peace negotiation, we need to talk about the frozen assets. In fact, we need to talk about reparation, war reparation. And it's for this that we have these assets freezed to ensure that in the future we have not just a lasting peace, but also a just peace. Because we cannot reward the aggressor. Because this war, in fact, is not only about Ukraine. Is about the rules-based order. Is about the respect of the United Nations charter. And the message we are sending to the world is the international law must prevail, and the aggressor cannot be rewarded for this.
Who would like to ask the... Yes, please. If we could get a mic, please, to hear. Yes. Thank you.
Good morning, President. Maurizio Geri, Marie Curie Fellow. Regarding enlargement in general for the Western Balkans, not only Ukraine and also Caucasus, are you among the people that believe that it's better to enlarge before to change the treaties and make it a majoritarian system, or is better to change the treaties and then do the enlargements? Because this is important to understand our future. Thank you.
I some of them that believes we need to do the both at the same time.
Please. Yes. Oh, okay, and then, okay.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Julia Sarivan. I'm representing Journal TV, Republic of Moldova. Mr. President, you mentioned that Europe's security begins in Ukraine, and also Ukraine is now a security umbrella for Republic of Moldova. And also Moldova is very vulnerable in front of Russia's interference. I'd like to ask you, what do you think, how big is the danger for Moldova right now? And also, Ursula von der Leyen mentioned that this SAFE program is also opened for candidate countries. As I understood, for sure for Ukraine, and Ukraine can participate in this SAFE program. Can Moldova participate too in this SAFE program, and how? Thank you.
Well, I don't need to say what is the threat to Moldova, because the Moldovians knows very well what is the threat. But our answer is, of course, the future of Moldova, by Moldovan choice, is in Europe, and we welcome Moldovan access to European Union. Moldova is actually a candidate country. We are working in this accession process, and Moldova can use also this fund, this SAVE fund, and we are also supporting Moldova, especially in this energetic crisis. And even this year, we supported not only we have support all the territory of Moldova to ensure the necessary energetic supply. I visited recently Chisinau. We will have our bilateral summit later this year, and we are working very close with President Maia Sandu and its government to continue this European path of Moldova.
The gentleman here.
Mitros Kurko, National News Agency of Ukraine, thank you for the floor. My question is also about security. In a day, in fact, President Macron will gather in Paris the coalition of willing in supporting Ukraine. So my question is, could it be considered like a pretext for formation some kind of a new pillar of European defense and security? And in that regard, how you see the further relations between EU and NATO in the circumstances when the US partners decreasing their presence in Europe? Thank you.
Well, about our relation with NATO, I think we are paving the way to converge in the same goal, to increase the European ownership in the European pillar of NATO, and this is in the both interest of Europe and the United States. And this, I think, is fair, and we need to do this in the smooth way, talking, and without any drama. It's not divorce, it's only a new way to live together. And is what we decided previously, is what the United States wants currently, and then we need to work together in this common goal. This is not a confrontation, but on the contrary, is we are going together in the same direction.
So there are two final questions from this side here, and we'll take them both together, and the gentleman at the back. I'm really sorry for all of the other hands, but I'm taking them in the order I saw them.
Hello, Valentina Vasileva, Voice of America and The Insider. You mentioned that it's very important to keep Russian assets frozen to achieve just and last peace, and it's an important tool for the European Union for the peace negotiations. But we see that Hungary is not in a big favor to prolong sanctions, and Orban continues threatening this process. We saw that on 20th of March, declaration to keep these Russian assets frozen was signed only by 26 countries without Hungary. How do you plan to deal with Hungary? What do you plan to do to keep these Russian assets frozen? Because I understand that it's very important for the EU.
We'll take one last, yes, at the very back.
Thank you very much. I'm Mikkel Jansson, and I'm representing the Swedish northern parts of Sweden in Brussels. And I can say that in the European Arctic, we feel a bit squeezed today. I mean, we have the Russian on one side, and unfortunately, we see what happens on the other side from the US. And we know also before that, 10 years ago, China was on the way also to buy Greenland and so on. So I think we don't really hear that much about the Arctic perspective into this discussion. Of course, Ukraine and everything is most important for now, but I would be interested to listen to what are the EU take on what happens and the Arctic perspective.
President.
Well, of course, I cannot anticipate, and I will not speculate about the future. But we have already approved 16 sanctions package, 16, all of them by unanimity. Recently, in January, we approved by unanimity the rollover of the sanctions. And 2 weeks ago, we approved again the rollover of the sanctions. Then my experience is until now, we have already reached unanimity to approve the sanctions. And the sanctions are important, not for the European Union. The sanctions are important, first of all, to guarantee international law, because we need to ensure that the aggressor pay for the results of their aggression. And for this, and to guarantee this, that's the reason, because it's important to protect these assets, to remain these assets under control, to ensure that in the future they will be used to pay the repairments of war. And there are other practical reasons, because the profits of these frozen assets is now the guarantee of the loan provided by the G7 to Ukraine. And that's the guarantee of the loan provided not only by the European Union member states, but also from Japan, Canada, and the United States. Then the importance to guarantee these loans, we need the profits of these frozen assets. And that's the main reason, because we need to protect this by very practical reasons. Then, and look, we are a union of diversity. We have 27 member states, different nations with different histories, different cultures, looking at the world from different geographical points of view. Then, the diversity is the natural result of Europe. What is utmost is, in spite of this diversity, we reach to build unity. And this is the main new. The main new is not, they didn't agree. No, the big new is they agreed. they reached 68 years ago, when 6 of our European member states agreed to sign the Treaty of Rome. And after that, in successive enlargements, we agreed to enlarge and to deeper our union and to build what we are today. And is not the end. We will continue to build up on this generation after generation, stimulated by crisis, stimulated by challenges, and every time finding the good way to move forward. And this is what is important, and that the reason, because I think we can be confident in our common future. About Greenland. Well, Greenland is not anymore a part of the European Union, but is a part of the territory of the Kingdom of Denmark. And the people of Greenland has the right of self-determination. And we should respect, first, the territorial integrity of Denmark, and we must respect the self-determination right of the people of Greenland. This is utmost important, not only for Europe, but for all over the world. Because if we give up on territorial integrity, we open a Pandora box in all the world, from Asia to Americas. Then, that's the reason because after World War II, the world decided, and the right enshrined in the United Nations Charter, that territorial integrity is a universal value. The respect of the international recognized borders are a universal principle. And we should respect sovereignty and self-determination of the different peoples. And this is essential to live in the rules-based order, because the alternative of the rules-based order is chaos. And chaos is very dangerous for humanity, for business, for the future. Then we need to preserve a rules-based order. And then everything can work.
Thank you. And can I ask you all to express your appreciation of the President and how honoured we are to have him, and to thank him for his work. And we wish the President all our good wishes for his tenure as President of the European Council. It's a great gig.